Are Avanti's brand new Class 805 trains better than the 20-year-old Class 221 Super Voyagers which Avanti currently operates? To be honest, that's probably not a debate I'm going to settle with this video, but my first impression is they're certainly better than other Class 800 derived trains that I've experienced. The units will completely replace Voyagers that Avanti West Coast uses on the Holyhead and Chester to London services, and will finally put an end to the practice of running diesel units under the wires from Crewe to London. The Class 805s, like most other intercity express trains, are bi-mode, meaning they have diesel engines underneath the carriages, but they can also run on overhead 25 kV lines where available, with a switchover in this particular instance happening at Crewe. The 805s have 3 V12 MTU engines underneath each of the trailer cars, and I believe they have the same power rating as the Trans-Pennine Express Class 802s and Class 810s being introduced by East Midlands Railway, with each engine producing around 940 brake horsepower or 700 kilowatts. Despite having almost 3,000 brake horsepower on tap, the units, much like other IETs, are limited to running at 110 miles per hour when running on the engines, but they can run at 125 miles per hour on electrified lines. Technically, they can operate at 140 miles per hour, but this requires the use of ETCS, which isn't yet fitted to the West Coast Main Line. These units will, however, be limited to operating at 110 miles per hour even when powered by the overhead lines. This is due to a legacy speed limit in place on the West Coast Main Line for trains which do not tilt. I believe Network Rail is looking at reversing this speed limit on straighter sections of the West Coast Main Line, but as yet no action has been taken to lift what is now an unnecessary speed limit, albeit for the tightest curves where tilt would still be required for passenger comfort. Despite being limited to 110 miles per hour, I don't believe the journey time will be significantly longer, as the units are able to accelerate much more quickly than Voyagers, or even Pendolinos for that matter. I seem to recall someone telling me even when powered by the engines, the Class 805s can still out-accelerate Voyagers to 50 miles per hour, so little or no time will be lost on the North Wales coast, along which trains have to stop frequently. Given the fact that the units are based on IETs, I expect most people are eager for me to talk about the seats, and I'm happy to report they are definitely more comfortable than those fitted to TPE's Class 802s and GWR's 800s. I can't really comment on the East Coast Class 800s as I haven't ridden one, but I suspect the seats on the 805s are much more comfortable. That's not to say that I think they're anything special. Padding still seems to be a little bit on the firm side, but the seating position definitely feels better than the seats fitted to TPE's units. There is ample legroom and the seats aren't cantilevered, so you can stretch them out a little bit under the seats in front. Each airline seat has a fold down and retractable table with a reading light just above the table. Charging facilities can be found underneath the seat in front with a single 3-pin socket and 2 USB ports. The table seats have lots of provision for charging and even have wireless charging built in. The tables seem to be reasonably big, although I imagine if 2 people are facing each other then they wouldn't both be able to use laptops at the same time. The table seats seem to line up with the windows, although some of the airline seats aren't so well positioned. There is a small first class area with 2+1 seating as you'd expect. The seats feature leather headrests or something similar to leather, and the seats seem to have more padding than those in standard class. In total there are 301 seats per 5-car set, with 25 first class and 276 standard class seats. Cycle storage frustratingly takes the form of hooks, which cyclists universally seem to hate, and I can fully understand why. And of course, with space being limited, you do have to book in advance. Like the Voyagers, there's a small onboard shop located in Coach C, which sells coffee, sandwiches and snacks. Moving on to the ride, it's perhaps a little bit more harsh than a Voyager, but it seems more than fine on continuously welded rail. With the engine switched on, I think the 805s are a little bit quieter than 221s. But the engines are certainly noticeable when the units are accelerating. However, the engines are only under the 3 middle carriages, so obviously there's no engine sound in the front driving vehicles. When under the wires, they are clearly a lot quieter than Voyagers and sound just like any other electric multiple unit. Being that they're limited to 110 miles per hour, I guess the closest comparison would be to a Class 350, and I would say that the 805s definitely seem more refined when travelling at 110 miles per hour on the West Coast mainline than the Class 350s. One thing that people have criticised is the fact that the units are 5 cars, but they are often coupled together, at least from Chester, and they are designed with portion working in mind, with the sets splitting at Chester, with half continuing to Holyhead, and depending on the time of day, the other half heading to Wrexham. Unfortunately, my train was very late and ran from Llandudno Junction rather than Holyhead due to technical issues, and the first off-peak train was only 5 carriages because the other unit was locked out of use due to said technical problems. This meant the remaining 5 cars were very busy. On my run to Stafford, the passenger announcements were not working, nor were the seat reservations, but these are just early teething problems which I'm sure will be sorted quickly. Overall, I think the seats are okay, perhaps not as comfortable as those fitted to Voyagers, but certainly better than the seats fitted to other IETs. I also think the lighting is a bit better and the units feel less cramped than Class 221s. Whether or not I think they're a big step up from Voyagers, I'm not so sure, but they are more environmentally friendly and quieter when running under wires, which is key. I think I'd have to experience the units from Chester all the way to London in order to really say whether or not I think they're better or worse, but early indications are they're better overall.